Testimony of Ancient Bongo Ken, Ras Flacco Tafari. Some have a shady past. Some are haunted by their past. Some live in the past. Some past is their present, which could be a danger to themselves, much less others. Some past will be hard to be forgotten by those living in the present. There is thin line between past and present. Time wait for no one. There is nothing new under the sun. It is just the flexibility of human behaviors in coping with dynamics of the past, present, and future. Flacco Tafari. Wisemind Publications. Copyright Wisemind Publications 2014. All rights reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced or stored without prior permission of the publisher. Testimony of Ancient Bongo Ken, written by Ras Flacco Tafari, edited by Shamana Ital Jarut, cover design by Scott Mosher, layout by Flacco Tafari, published by Wisemind Publications, distributed by Wisemind Publications. Contact rasflacco@gmail.com. That's RASFLAKO@gmail.com. wisemindpublications@gmail.com. Wisemind Publications. Table of Contents. Page 4. Early Days Trotting. Page 6. Ancients during my early days. Page 10. Nyabingi Groundation. Page 13. Wapi King. Page 14. The day Haile Selassie visited Jamaica. Page 18. Preparation of His Majesty's coach. Page 20. The Market Riot Police Raid of downtown Kingston. Page 20. Rastafari House and Mansion and Bobo Shanty House. Page 23. Repatriation and Reparation and Nyabingi Priest. Page 24. Testimony of Ancient Wickam Man. Copyright Wisemind Publications 2014. All rights reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced or stored without prior permission of the publisher. Early Days Trotting. I was introduced into this faith by Bongo Tawny, Bongo Jack, Ganja Stone, and men like Dermanite. I was a little brown-skinned youth, and they always make sure that I was safe among the races. In a black denomination, the term "black you stand back, brown you stick around, and if you white you right" was the saying. As a brown man, I was a stick-around. I was a youth who had a bad of temper growing up in the ghettos of Trenchtown, Hanatown, and Greenwich Town. Being a youth living in those areas, I grew up defending myself in ways I could. I was employed by the Railway Corporation as a final year apprentice after graduation from the Kingston Technical High School. Soon I began to trot up with the Nyabingi house, and soon realized that to become a dreadlocks on the job would be serious offense. I had made up my mind to face the consequences. As a youth from Trenchtown, we were marginalized with a red mark against our community. We never had much of a chance to attend the better schools, such as KC or JC, as where we were living, it was labeled as a ghetto. Father Sherlock, who was in Trenchtown, saw my potential. He encouraged me to pursue my education. I was also a very good athlete at school, and I played and helped them to win many championships. Living in Trenchtown, I was not interested in any church business. Very soon, the drums of Rastafari called me to Bongo Wato's camp at Davis Lane. I was pressured by Bongo Wato because of the color of my skin. In the long run, I was liked by him as I was not rude to the ancients. Regardless of what happened, even when Wato cursed me, I paid no attention. Due to the fact that grandmother owned one of the biggest yard in Matthews Lane, I received enough respect from many bad men during my early years growing up in downtown Kingston. My original family came from the parish of St. Catherine, between Cassava River and Glengoff. Ancients during my early days. Bongo Tawny and Bongo Bengi were very close to me during my early days. Bongo Tawny was like my big brother. While I was living at Trenchtown, Bongo Tawny was living at Darling Street. I knew Tawny while I was playing football at a nearby playfield where he came to watch the game. As I became more acquainted with Bongo Tawny, we spent time reading the Bible, books on Haile Selassie, and we also had many upful discussions on why Haile Selassie is the Christ on earth. I was a good reader, so I did most of the reading. Bongo Tawny and Ganja Stone were the ones who created the Rastafari I-word sound Iankas, now called Ioric. The ancient would say, "Give ein some iceful meaning, give us some water." Other word sound is in a yond in iris, meaning I am thinking about something. Ancient Bongo Tawny was born in downtown Kingston, right beside the Coronation Market. He was a strong force and was very well respected. He was the only one who could stop a fight. He was short, muscular, and very strong. All the so-called bad men in the community had to behave themselves in his presence. Bongo Tawny was a very good swimmer and could swim across the Kingston Harbor with ease. Bongo Tawny was also a great runner. He outrun a police in East Kingston. The bewildered policeman exclaimed, "The way the Rasta man was running fast, it was like he was running on one foot." There's a photo of ancient Bongo Tawny. I later met Bongo Sheffin, who was living on the Bull Bay beach with his queen and 3 children. Same for many Rastafari families and children during those early days. The major Rastafari camps were Backawal, Bull Bay on the beach, and Granville Pitford, being the first Nyabingi tabernacle built in Jamaica. During those days, it was specialized in what we eat for food. If fish was eaten, it would be only the sprat, or small fishes, not deep-sea fish. When I trod up, there was no tabernacle to keep Isis. I had groundation, but it was the same Nyabingi. Gabidon and Bongo Sheffin were ancients whom I grew up with at 9 Miles Bull Bay. Ancient Bongo Sheffin had Big Hut as a dwelling house. He also had a group of intelligent Data in his company at all time. They guided him in many ways. Bongo Sheffin was a very spiritual person and very articulate. He was also a great fisherman, but he did not venture far out to sea. Several times he left for sea at 10 p.m. When he returned, his boat was always full of fish, and he gave away most of his catch. Now Gabidon was very forceful, and anything he set his mind on, it was accomplished. He had a few deficiencies, but he was a very irie brethren. Ancient Bongo Watto was also irie, but a strict Rasta man. Ancient Bongo George Ions was the first one to trod with an iron rod in the house. Bongo Bigga and Bongo Tawny were like brothers. They were a harp-playing duo, with Tawny on the repeater and Bigga on the funde. Pictured is Ancient Bongo Sheffin. Nyabingi Groundation. In the early days, we used to call I gathering Groundation, but it was really Nyabingi. When we were going out to the country, we would build the tabernacle on location where the chanting will be held. Now, if the Nyabingi was planned for 9 days or 13 days, there were no special time to end the Nyabingi. If the Nyabingi was nice and the crowd strong, we stayed and chanted for 3 days or more. Rastafari, who were farmers, gave a portion of their crops to the Nyabingi kitchen. Ones and ones walked miles to attend the bingi. They had no concern about traveling on motor vehicles. They walked through hills and valleys to avoid the main roads and the eyes of the public. It was an Ital Irit's trod. When the Nyabingi was sealed, the tabernacle was set on fire. There was no need for a permanent structure in those days. The Granville Pitford Nyabingi Center was built approximately 10 years before the one at Scott's Pass. I advised Bob Marley to purchase the over 20 acres Scott's Pass property from the two brothers who were my co-workers at the Jamaica Railway Corporation. Some years later, other bingi grounds were constructed at Bongo Tawny Gates in Portland Cottage, as well as other locations. Bongo Bluesy, otherwise known as Gorgas, was an excellent chanter. You could stay at a distance and recognize his voice. At an early age, Bongo Tawny introduced I-Man into the group of chanters. That is how I too became a chanter. I was eventually liked by Pa Shanty and others for my mastery of the chants. Now Pa Shanty was the best repeater player I ever heard. No one could match him with timing on the harp. He mastered the 3-beat, which included 1, 2, and do good beats. the only one in my estimation that could rival him was Ancient Bongo Daniel, the most versatile drummer I ever known inside of the Nyabingi. Daniel played repeater, funde, and bass effortlessly. He also had excellent timing and could stay on the harps for hours at a time. He was so keen on the harps and could easily identify when the beats were off key. Bongo Tawny is also a good repeater player, who played the 3-beat. Ancient Muggy Roy also plays the 3-beat, and he learned his skills from the master drummers. Other outstanding players of the harps are Ancient Bongo Joe from the Granville Pit 4 Nyabingi House plays. The harps are almost like Bongo Tawny, but with a lighter finger touch. Bongo Joe is also a good chanter. These days he seldom chant or play harps. When we traveling in a bus, a public transport, and the bus was stopped by the police, we as Rastafari were the ones who were searched, while all others go free. Most times, if not all the times, we had herb in our possession. As such, Rastafari, when caught with herbs, were given a mandatory sentence by the judge. Rastafari were also considered as thieves, and as such, the vagrancy law was used to keep Rastafari on the move. Pictured is Bongo Bigga. Wapi King. Now, Wapi King was the most dangerous man I have ever known in my life. Short, black in complexion, and muscular. He was living in downtown Kingston, about Regent Street, on Charles Street, all in the proximity of Tivoli Gardens in West Kingston, better known as Backawall. Wapi was a senseless murderer and a rapist. His main weapon was a knife. Sometimes at night he walked naked, and being of deep black skin, you could not see him in the dark. As such, the beaches were not safe at nights. When Wapi raped the Chinese girl on the beach one night, in the struggle, the girl dug her fingernails deep in his face and also bit out pieces of his flesh. In retaliation, she was stabbed, and he left her on the seaside for dead. Wapi swam across the Kingston harbor to reach the other side of town, where he immediately shaved his beard and cut his hair to disguise himself. First, it was reported that the act was committed by Rasta, but someone who saw Wapi clean-shaved called the police attention. Wapi was arrested soon after. The Chinese girl came and identified him as her attacker and rapist. She pointed out the bite marks and fingernail marks that convicted him. He was sentenced to hang. Due to his muscular build and body weight, the hangman had a difficulty in pulling the floorboards from under his feet, and 3 attempts were made before there was success. Wisemind Publications. The day Haile Selassie visited Jamaica. I will never have another experience like this. We went to the Norman Manley International Airport when His Majesty's aircraft landed. Bongo Tawny ran off his vantage point and went straight under the belly of the airplane, ahead of every anxious Rastafari to light his chalice. The police were helpless and could not stop anyone on that day when Rastafari claimed the victory. When the plane landed, people started to jump from the waving gallery to the tarmac. Now Bongo Tawny was on high post as soon as the plane landed. He said to me, "I read in the Bible, the man who find himself so high must reach ground, because it is the Almighty he is going to praise." Tawny slid off to the spot on the ground and ran towards the plane, took out his chalice out of his bag. I said, "Bongo Tawny, what you a do?" He replied, "What me a do? Me a give praises." Now Tawny have the cup in hand, and I have the matches. Tawny chanted, "Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly," and so on. That was his favorite chant. When he was finished, he roared, "Hail Selassie I! Hail Selassie I! Hail Selassie I!" As fast as I could strike the match to light the chalice, the crown of Rastafari backed off. We heard the hissing sound of the plane engines as it cooled off, and some were fearful of the plane exploding. Now Tawny light the chalice. He took a very long draw and blow out the smoke from his nostrils. More ones backed off. One Rasta man said to Tawny, "What you a do?" Tawny ignored him, took a longer sip from the cup, and said to me, "Hold this, Ken," and shouted, "Draw the cup, Ken. What you a do? I the King of Kings in there, you know. Nothing can happen to me, you know. Him cut off everything." I took the chalice in my hand, and Bongo Tawny said to me, "Bless up the cup, man." I repeated, "The Lord is my shepherd." In those days we don't light a cup without blessing. When I took a few sip, Bongo Tawny yelled, "Suck the cup, man." I immediately took a good one. Tawny was still vexed. He took away the cup and said to me, "Me no know ya." Another Rasta man wanted a sip, but could not manage, as he was just puffing the pipe. Tawny exclaimed, "No puff out me herb, suck it, man." You see, when the next Bongo Tawny took the cup and made 3 good suck, it was fire. Tawny yelled out, "Fire! Fire!" Everyone ran from under the plane, leaving Tawny, Bongo Bluesy, and I-Man. When they saw the fire blazed from the chalice, Bongo Bluesy, with his big chest, then took a long, hard draw from the cup, as he was not afraid. The exuberant crowd of Rastafari at the airport was so gigantic. In order to calm them, Haile Selassie asked the commanding officer to summon Mortimer Plano to the steps of the plane to calm them. Pictured is Priest Brown drawing on the chalice. Pictured is Mortimer Plano. The preparation of His Majesty's coach. When His Majesty was expected in Jamaica, the general manager told the mechanical engineer that Haile Selassie, Emperor of Ethiopia, would be visiting Jamaica. As such, he should prepare a royal coach for him. When the engineer visited the workshop, he said to Mr. Perkins, who was the supervisor, "Tell Mr. Jones to send the little Rasta man to me." The engineer said to me, "Ken, your God is coming to Jamaica in April, and we have to build a royal coach for him to travel on." The royal coach that was there before was scrapped after it was used by Princess Margaret. It was time to build a coach for Haile Selassie. So we selected a good undercarriage and created a solid workforce of interior and exterior carriage technical workers. We selected the best Rolls-Royce engines for the carriages. When His Majesty visited the railway station, the general manager said, "Mr. Broach, can you introduce your workers to His Majesty?" He introduced me first by saying, "This young man is the man who is in charge of building your coach. He is a millwright and a fitter, and he has chosen all his Rastafari brethren working here to complete the job, because these are your people, your Majesty." Mr. Broach continued by saying, "I, as the engineer, made sure that I have provided the opportunity for these workers to say that they have done something good for their king." After this pleasant introduction of us to Haile Selassie, everyone present applauded. Wisemind Publications. We all decided not to smoke herb on the train with His Majesty, but when we arrived in Montego Bay, we found a place where we could all smoke a spliff. Haile Selassie asked us why we named ourselves Rastafari. My answer was, "Your Majesty, I see you as the returned Christ. You are the man who went to the United Nations General Assembly and stood up for the rights of poor people." His Majesty listened intently to us and shook his head, and told us that there is one thing that he admired us for, is how we live with each other. He said, "All for one, one for all, working in this manner, we must reap success." It was Haile Selassie who had requested to see the countryside. The government of Jamaica chose rail as the means of transport. The Market Riots police raid of downtown Kingston. Rastafari, led by Prince Emmanuel, camped out at Queen Victoria Park with a 3-night chanting with the expectation of repatriation to Africa. Sunday morning, we looked over Cokeside. I saw police. When we looked down Princess Street, it was police. Up to the top of King Street was more police. The armed forces had a plan for us. 4 police commanders were placed at key positions to cut off exit points of north, south, east, and west. I heard the police commander say with a loud voice, "Charge them now!" Suddenly, police started to jump fences from all angles, running towards us with batons and guns in hand. We had no choice but to run towards them to get away. We tried to avoid their swinging batons by pushing and forcing ourselves through them. Many of us were hit by batons, yet some slipped through the police blockade unhurt. On my way out, a policeman hit after me and missed. His lignum vitae baton ended up in his own knee and he fell. His colleague saw me coming and hit after me. His baton missed, hitting the fence. I jumped over the same fence and ran straight down to Orange Street, passing Tower Street to reach Harbor Street, very far from my destination of railway. During the police massive assault on Rastafari in the park, Prince Emmanuel was badly beaten. After he escaped, he and his followers immediately relocated from downtown Kingston to 7 miles Bull Bay, which is now Bobo Hill. Lignum vitae is the name of the tree the wood came from to make the baton, a dense wood indigenous to the Caribbean, also known as the tree of life. There's a picture of Prince Emmanuel. Rastafari House and Mansion. The Rastafari house and mansions today have split up among themselves because of lack of transparency. When financial contributions are given to them, there is no accountability. As such, people are being accused of wrongdoing. The Scots Pass brethren claim that Scots Pass Bingi Center is the headquarters, but we know that the first Bingi Center built was Granville Pitford in Montego Bay. Bongo Torch was the first Rasta to live on the property at Scots Pass. Both of us encouraged Bob Marley to purchase the Scots Pass property from two brothers who were employed to the Jamaica Railway Corporation during my time there. Bobo Shanty House. Prince Emmanuel, who was established as a priest, full order, said he had no quarrel with the order of the Nyabingi. His life teachings were to be a principle people through reverence of prayers and psalms. He wrote several letters to the Queen of England on behalf of the Rastafari movement concerning reparations and repatriation. Letters were also sent to the government of Jamaica concerning outstanding Rastafari affairs. The red on top emblem they display was because of the color of the rainbow, with its red, gold, green arrangement. Repatriation and reparation. We have to repatriate, but we cannot go to Africa and make mischief among ourselves. We cannot go to Africa with bad behavior. Many Rastafari have questionable behaviors and are in leadership positions, so it's more action than talk. The Nyabingi administration needs people with transparency and accountability to lobby for our repatriation and reparation. Nyabingi priest. The high priest of the order of the Nyabingi should be a man who has an impeccable record and be the one who splits justice in the right way. He cannot take sides, because as a spiritual leader, each man seeking his counsel should say a prayer and change their attitude of one towards the other. When a high priest is to be elected, one who is spiritually motivated should be chosen. The man who can set as an example. The man who is willing to carry the load on his back and not find himself a beggar. Pictured is Priest Bongo George Irons. It is time for the ancients, who are the custodians of the faith, to come together and take a good review of the Nyabingi administration, and to put the best ideas forward that the order of the Nyabingi will be once again respected internationally. Pictured are a group of Nyabingi Incents. Testimony of Ancient Wickam Man. Early days. I man trotting up as Rastafari from I was 9 years old. It was from that time I called upon Haile Selassie I as a true savior to I. Haile Selassie grew me in his ways and made I how he wanted I to be until this day. The first Nyabingi I trod was held at Payne Avenue School in 1966 when Haile Selassie visited Jamaica. During His Majesty's visit to the school, he placed a monument with some letters written on it beside a palm tree. However, as time went by, men and other people took a truckload of marl and cover the monument. They also placed concrete over the spot, so it cannot be seen today. All those things are wrong. The younger generation at Payne Avenue doesn't know about the gift of His Majesty to their community. When Haile Selassie came to Jamaica, I was 17 years old. When I saw him at Payne Street, he looked straight at I. Growing up as a youth, I knew the gong, Leonard Howell. I used to take ground provisions to Spanish Town Market to sell. Every Friday night, Howell kept his meeting, preaching about Rastafari. It was there I listened and learned a lot about Haile Selassie's teachings. It is the same duty of Rastafari as it is today. I-Man also went to Pinnacle, and I as Rasta Man now manifest the history of Howell as it was revealed from St. Thomas to Pinnacle. During the early days, Rastafari could not capture lands, as Bustamante government would deal with Rasta with the most cruelty. At Pinnacle, ones pooled money and gave it to Howell, who gave permission to build a brick dwelling place. Pinnacle is for Rastafari, and not for Howell anymore. I received teachings from Bongo Watto, who told I-Man that Jah is just a Bible name. The right name that I must hold on to is the crown name Haile Selassie, who was crowned in Ethiopia. He also told I-Man that when you say Haile Selassie, it means the power of the Holy Trinity. And when you say Rastafari, it means the head I-rater. Haile Selassie I balance with Empress Menen, foderator and moderator. My tribulation. My tribulation is dangerous with Babyrang. Enough massacre right around the island. When you say Haile Selassie I in those days, the police feed you on salt and water and tough crackers in prison. The politician gave the command to shoot and ask questions after. And anywhere you see 2 or more Rasta man, arrest them. Prime Minister Bustamante commanded the police and soldiers to bring in all Rastafari dead or alive. It was a Krabbit Iwa. I received many batter and bruises from the police. It was cruelty from start to finish, wickedness from Babyrang, murderation from police batons, gun butts, and bayonets. I was locked up in jail for months. I was not a wrongdoer. I received no justice from Babyrang. I was so beaten up badly by the police, and even today I feel so much pains all over my body. There was so many youths who were not guilty. The police accused them of having offensive weapons and shot them and cast many in jail. The Order of the Nyabingi today. The movements of Rastafari did not trot up under their education or their books. It is through the education of the inner man, meaning that we worked through nature and with the energy of Haile Selassie. I see Haile Selassie natural person, a trod through iration. When I see Haile Selassie I see the cloud form around him, and the wind that flow on mankind and flow through the earth comes from Haile Selassie. So I know that Haile Selassie is the breath of life. No one have any power but Haile Selassie I. Message to Rastafari youths today. What I, man, will say to the youths today is to throw away ignorance, their ways of brutality, throw away their guns and bombs, throw away grudgeful, bad mind, covetous, and all wrongdoing, and take Haile Selassie in their hearts. For everyone should have clean hands, and be pure in heart unto Haile Selassie this day. This word sound is for Rastafari at home and abroad, near and far, so let the word go out. Repatriation. To repatriate, one have to change their ragged ways and come under one umbrella. Before I can get repatriation, everyone have to say the same sound. Ganja herb. The herb is for Rastafari. It is I communion. Just like how ones take the water communion, the same way you have to take the fire cup communion. The herb is the healing of the nation, for all nation. So all nations will come and use the herb, and all things that have breath will use the herb. The sensamila, the kush umpang, the greatest medicine through iration, the irits of Haile Selassie, is in the herb tree. So it opens the wise man, so wise man teach man, the inner man. Haile Selassie I is always near you. He always sit beside you at all Iwa. Who have Haile Selassie I themselves will have him for Ivor. You never too young to learn, and you never too in age to learn the good sound of Haile Selassie. May the Father in Zion strengthen you and guide you, protect you, open a way for you, so that your bread can flow in from across the water, flow in the air, even to reap it from the earth. So we give thanks for all good things. Rastafari is the foundation. Wisemind Publications. Pictured is ancient Wickam Man. Next pictured Ras Sase. Next picture Mama Merle. Next picture Bongo Caleb. Wisemindpublications.com